You've probably heard about Attorney General Merrick Garland's recent response to the National School Board Association request that he consider parents who attend school board meetings and, raise their voice or get heated or whatever, consider them domestic terrorists. Or even consider those that get very heated and make threats like, we're going to replace you, or you need to resign, or we're coming for your job, or something like that, that they should be treated as domestic terrorists. You've probably heard about that. If you follow education news at all, it's making the rounds. And you may even have heard of this now viral story from the Daily Wire about how Loudoun County, Virginia schools tried to conceal a sexual assault against this gentleman's daughter in the bathroom of one of their schools, Stonebridge High School. Now, why are the two connected? Well, the two are connected because this gentleman quickly became, pictures of him as you see in the background, sort of the poster child for the DOJ's policy, for that response. He's the reason. People like him getting all upset at school board meetings. They want you to believe that he just showed up to randomly scream at people and that pictures of his arrest are the logical outcome of his behavior and only his behavior. And that the poor, long-suffering Loudoun County School Board was just trying to do its job, just innocent public servants trying to do their jobs. That's what they want you to believe, in the mainstream media anyway. Thankfully, we have other outlets and independent journalists who have been covering the story honestly. So what was the story? Well, the actual story is that on May 28th, this gentleman's daughter was raped. She was 15 years old, ninth grader, in the bathroom of her school by a boy wearing a skirt who claimed to be gender fluid. You can go check out the facts. I'm repeating them from memory. He went to the school and he says, and I believe him, I have no reason to disbelieve him. I know how schools have behaved in the past when I've asked them about things being investigated, about bullying related to my child, just plain old bullying. He says he was told they would handle it in-house, and it was at that point an allegation. Turns out, the sheriff confirms that it resulted in a 2-month-long investigation into the perpetrator, the 14-year-old perpetrator, that resulted in charges, one of which was felony sexual assault or rape, otherwise known as rape, amongst other charges I will not list out loud. You can go look it up. But the prosecution had 21 days to to bring it to trial or release him or whatever. They released him on electronic monitoring. They were waiting for DNA results. And he was placed in another school. At that other school, this month, October, this same individual was accused of entering a girl's bathroom. Only this time it's unclear whether it was claiming to be a girl or not, but entering a girl's bathroom and sexually assaulting another girl. This time, though, I believe misdemeanor charges are pending. Not sure. But the school board appearance of this gentleman was in June. So this current charge of the same individual just punctuates the point that schools are doing a terrible job of keeping your kids safe. For all this, we just want to keep your kids safe. That's why you have to put a face diaper on or whatever. They're really doing a dreadful job of it. Because the same person that assaulted his daughter and has felony charges pending was allowed to return to a different school in the same county. And here's where it gets really ugly. On June 22nd, the reason this man got arrested is that he was accosted by an activist at the school board meeting who assumed that he was there to speak, who knew about his case. So an activist, rainbow-haired activist, obviously pro-trans policy, thought he was there to speak out against the policy. He was concerned about it, for sure, but he was not scheduled to speak. He not asked to speak. He was there in attendance to hear what they were going to say. She starts accosting him. Obviously, he gets upset. And one of the things that gets him upset is that the superintendent says, and I want to get this quote right. I don't want to mess this up, okay? because this is really, really important, that the superintendent lectured the public. The concerns about the transgender policy were misplaced because the school system had, get ready for it, no record of any assault occurring in any school bathroom. That was their justification. It hasn't happened, therefore it won't happen in the future, when in fact it had happened. Because this was June 22nd and the incident was May 28th. Almost a full month prior. That's why he was there. He was there because he knew what could happen, because it did happen to his daughter because of this very same policy. That's part of why parents were upset. Because no doubt some of the parents already knew about what happened to his daughter, and the superintendent sat there in front of everyone present, in front of the microphones, the cameras, and everybody, and, well, you decide. Did the superintendent lie when they lectured the parents? Or was the superintendent so derelict in their duty they were unaware of a months-long, per the sheriff, months-long investigation into this event? We can't hold them accountable for what happened in October. It hadn't happened yet. I'm just mentioning this latest incident because what goes on with these juvenile offenders is they get returned to school. Even with the electronic monitoring, what was this? They say they took extra measures. I'll put all the links in the description box. You can read what I read, where I'm getting this from memory. They say they took extra safety precautions. They say they were watching. They say the kid was monitored, and yet not monitored enough. So to accuse parents of being bigots, paranoid, that they're domestic terrorists for showing up and expressing concern about these issues, for making this poor man who's got to deal with the fact that his daughter was raped. Just sit with that for a second. I have 3 daughters. When this happened to his daughter last May, my daughter was also in 9th grade. Same age. They'd be in the same class right now if they were in the same county in public schools. Could have been any one of our daughters. To treat him like he's some kind of criminal when actual criminals were allowed back into the school. Now, all these kids have rights to get educated, but do they necessarily have to be educated while they're waiting for these felony rape charges, for their DNA sample to come through? They're wearing electronic monitoring. Do they need to be in the same school with your kids? Walking around, going in any old bathroom they please because everybody's too afraid to say no to a boy walking into the girl's bathroom because at this point he might be trans? Because to stop him and demand to know why he's going in the girl's bathroom might be considered some form of bigotry or assault on the part of the teachers, the resource officers. We don't even have a right to ask anymore. Because that's really what it is. It's what it comes down to. And I want you to consider for a moment, they're pushing these policies to the point where they tell the parents you're misplaced. Your concern is misplaced. We have no reports in any school. Imagine your dad hearing that. He's probably standing there going, I'm sorry, what? And he may even, I wasn't there, but he may even have blurted out, are you serious? Or what the hell? Or anything, even invective. But he was accosted first. Did the rainbow-haired lady get arrested? No. Did he get arrested? As you clearly see, yes. And now people are using him as the poster child for, well, we have to protect the poor school board members from irate parents yelling and screaming at like this. It's not even what he was doing. He was rather measured, I'd say. I can think of a lot of parents that would have gone off immediately. Because to think that after May 28th, they would still be pushing this policy, that right away speaks volumes. And as I was about to say, I want you to consider with all of this, that the same people pushing these policies, the people pushing the trans bathroom policy, the people pushing equity in general in Virginia, the people who are saying that, we have to protect these populations from harm and from violence. And violence, according to them, includes words, includes things that will hurt their feelings, includes microaggressions, includes being excluded. Can't exclude. They should have affinity groups. They feel safe. Everything's about safety, safety, safety for the people in that population, but not for his daughter, not for my daughter, not for somebody who doesn't fit neatly into a little identity class that's getting this kind of protection because it's politically valuable to the people in power. These same people will tell you that not only words are violence, but they create trauma. They traumatize children to hear words and read about subjects like Christopher Columbus is traumatizing. Those same people not only thought it was perfectly okay to continue a policy and either pretend this had never happened to do so, or just be ignorant of it, not care, not paying attention, put a kid right back into school, let it happen again, whatever, as long as our political motivations are served. But worse than that, y'all, you're probably thinking there's worse. Oh yeah, there's worse. The worst is that in 2020, Virginia Democrats voted to allow schools to refrain from reporting sexual battery. Now, in the case of the May 28th assault, it had to be reported because it did rise to the level of felony. But do you think it should have to? Do you think your child should have to be forcibly raped in multiple ways, again, which I will not list on this channel, in order for it to be reported? Don't you think if a boy wearing a skirt, or even a girl, or a boy not wearing a skirt, or anybody goes into a bathroom where your child is and they're vulnerable and there are cameras for obvious reasons, and gropes, manhandles, tries to force themselves on someone but is unsuccessful at it, they get fought off, don't you think those actions, which are classified as misdemeanors, should still be reported? Don't you think you'd want to know? Don't you think you'd want something more official than your kid coming home in tears? And don't you think that's a little bit traumatizing? At least as traumatizing as having to read about colonial America? Or Christopher Columbus? Or maybe some white people who owned slaves? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be glib or funny about this. There's nothing funny about this. I just want to juxtapose these two things. So the point is driven home that these are the same people. This guy raising his hand, who signed it, he was asked to veto it. He was asked to veto this change in the law. That we're not going to report anything that doesn't rise to the level of felony. Don't have to report it. That's perfectly fine. It's okay. We're not going to do that because, we don't need to. If it happens on campus, not anywhere, but if it happens on a school campus, why would they want to do that? Why would they want to refrain from reporting just because it happened on a school campus? Why do they want to create a safe place for criminals? Really? So you can be a victim of violence of words in a classroom, but not a victim of violence of hands and other parts in a bathroom, unless that person is successful at completing their violent act. And then we'll report it. But otherwise, it happened on campus. That's all right. Things you couldn't get away with at work, if you even tried. If you suggested a date with someone at work and they didn't want that suggestion, you might be fired. You could even be prosecuted if you used the wrong words. So consider that. These are your children. These people assume the role of parent in loco parentis. The second your little kid or teenager, whatever, crosses that threshold, your rights end. And they have just exempted themselves from the same reporting that would have to happen if it's happened on the sidewalk or at the grocery store or someplace that isn't a school campus. Because we really wouldn't want kids to be suspended. Then, when they're suspended, they don't graduate. And apparently that's the biggest tragedy that ever happened to somebody who was already a rapist. No, I don't think so. So I want to make you guys aware of this because it's important to know, at least in Virginia, but also this could be coming to your state. This may already be in your state. You should check the law. What duty does your school district have to report these things? What does your state law say? What kind of bathroom policy does your school have? And lest you think I'm contradicting myself, because on this channel I've said don't go running and screaming at the school board for every last little thing. This does fall under their purview. The school board is 100% responsible for campus security. They are absolutely responsible for this kind of thing. What they're not responsible for is what the teacher's teaching within the classroom as far as how they're presenting American history, et cetera. They don't really have a say in that, except maybe in Vermont and Connecticut. But they absolutely have a say in these policies. They can't override this Virginia law as far as reporting to law enforcement anyway, but they can report to parents. They can make it school policy to report all the misdemeanors to parents, even if it's not reported to law enforcement. Now, the May 28th was apparently, it wasn't, the dad was told to be handled in-house, but there was a 2-month-long investigation. So no matter how you slice it, that superintendent was either lying or stupid. So check your state, check your district, make sure you know what's going on, and understand just how sinister it is when the Attorney General of the United States decides to use the power of the Department of Justice to investigate parents like this gentleman. Now, just to finish off this video, I'll let you know the good news follow-up is that he is suing. He has hired attorneys, and they are suing the Loudoun County Public Schools. May they be successful. It's going to be a long slog for them. I wish them all the best, but it is not going to be fun. So we can sit here on the sidelines and cheer that he's going to undertake this action, but understand that these people are powerful and they probably have taken steps to cover their tracks. So fingers crossed. Let's see how it goes. If you find this video helpful or informative, please do consider liking it, sharing it, subscribing to the channel to get more news like this. And join me in my locals at thereasonwelearn.locals.com. We can talk more about this and other issues. But in the meantime, go do your homework, research your district, what gets reported, what doesn't, and why. Thanks for watching.